Good morning, good evening, whoever you are, wherever you are, whatever you might be doing. We wish to welcome you to the Silverlight Show. The Silverlight shines to illuminate that which lies hidden in darkness. For those of you tuning in today, we welcome you in. So it seems our message has not quite reached everybody yet, and this is by no means a unique message. It's not revolutionary, it's just kind of doing the homework. The United States thinks, please note the key word here is thinks, that they have a duality. They compare their conservatives and they compare their Democrats. They think, oh, these are the two opposite ends of the political spectrum. There cannot be anything else. The conservatives are the Nazis and the Democrats are the Soviet Union. Nothing could be further than the truth. I often quote Jesse Ventura, former wrestler, former commentator, former governor of Minnesota, and at one point, a potential vice president candidate. And he said, United States politics is like going to the grocery store and finding nothing but Coke and Pepsi. There's no Mountain Dew, no Orange Crush, just Coke and Pepsi. One's a little sweeter than the other, but it's not really a choice. And he was right, because that's called centrism. You're kind of balancing the line, one slightly to the right, one slightly to the left. You'll notice that no matter who's in charge, Northrop, Raytheon, Boeing, they all get big contracts. Now, on the real world political spectrum, supposedly, you have the Nazis on the extreme right-hand side, and the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics, the USSR, on the left side. Even this does not encapsulate the environment that world politics agree on. Because the Nazis is a short little portmanteau for National Socialists. Oh, we got the socialist word in here. Yeah, they were called National Socialists. Now, were they socialist? No, they were totalitarian. You see, because in socialism and communism, workers control the means of production. We think we can agree that the Nazis definitely did not do that. It was government control of production, completely for the government, by the government. And that's the way the Nazis run. But you know what? Before that, the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics, supposedly the heirs of Karl Marx and Joseph Engels, can't remember his first name right now, doesn't matter. This group that supposedly is taking over this left-wing ideology, what do? Lenin may have started off with the idea that he was going to run a socialist republic. But Stalin got in. And whereas socialism predicts from each according to ability to each according to ability. I got that wrong. From each according to ability to each according to need. Sorry, because this message got mutated through Stalin. And Stalin changed it to from each according to ability to each according to work. So Stalin had already swayed the country less than 5 years into its inception into a state-controlled totalitarian society. And go back, look in the 1970s and 1980s, and I can't profess to anything before that, they were calling them totalitarians. Totalitarianism is not the same as socialism. It never will be. Socialism is far more democratic. The Soviets were supposed to be the workers' representatives going to government and saying, hey, we specialize in producing electrical boxes, and, what's the market like for this year? Okay, maybe we should open a side production in tires. I don't know. Just an example. or we'll reduce what we're making this year and change things accordingly. Now, since the National Socialists and the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics were both under wartime conditions, we never got to see what they would really be like in a peacetime process. We know what the National Socialists do. I do not like to say Germans because a lot of Germans disagreed with what was going on, but the National Socialists were trying to paint this idea of a workers' paradise through propaganda. And that was through having the Olympic Games. That was through, blood and circuses, basically. USSR did pretty much the same thing. They had their Olympics. They had sports teams in every single town. And people there were paid to play, even paid to sit on the bench. Because the totalitarian government knew if it didn't find jobs for those people, then those were the strong guys. They were going to rise up against them. And in fact, that's what happened in 1991. The mafia realized the government was collapsing, and they went to these sports leagues. They said, hey, we know the government's not going to pay you. So how about we pay you? You come work for us. All you need to do is stand there and look intimidating. And that's how the Russian mafia got so big so fast. Kind of a side note, but just a note that the investment that the Soviets made into keeping people busy led to severe mafia corruption. Even these two ideologies that we picture at the opposite end, if Stalin and Hitler had ever actually sat down and talked together, they would find that they had very similar viewpoints on quite a lot of things. So, let's apply this to contemporary United States of America. You have two parties. Because of that, you are vulnerable to polarization. It's easy to paint the other guys as bad people. But you know what? Read Obama's biography. Whether you like him or not, it's worth a read. Because he mentions that nobody on the Democrat Party really gave him much thought. Somebody in the Republicans, and I forget the name right now, took him under his wing and said, this is the way parliamentary process works. This is the way we do our debates. This is the way, these are the people you need to schmooze up to. And this was a Republican tutoring a Democrat. Yeah, the parties commingle. At Trump's last wedding, guess who the best guests were? The Clintons. Yes, remember the one that Trump launched off and blew his head off saying, oh, crooked Hillary and all this sort of stuff? Because Trump was trained in his rhetoric by Vincent K. McMahon of the WWE, World Wrestling Entertainment. That's why he was so effective. He brought himself across in the same way that Vince pushes his wrestlers. Did a good job. I will never say that Trump is not a good speaker. I will never say anything about Trump except for the fact that, yeah, I remember him from the 80s, and a snake doesn't change its skin. Well, it does change its skin, but it's still the same spots underneath. So when you start hearing people throwing around terms, oh, you're socialist, you're communist, you're a Nazi, remember, people are rarely what they seem. And if you doubt that, ask yourself, which Korea is the People's Democratic Republic of Korea? Is that North Korea or South Korea? Here's a hint. That's a big marketing term. Because up until the 80s, they were both repressive dictatorships. But yeah, that does refer to North Korea. The nice Republican Democratic people that they are. Don't believe the label. The Union of Soviet Socialists was never Soviet. Maybe in the very beginning with Lenin, but that's it. The Germans with National Socialism were never socialist in the slightest bit. Don't base your examples off either one of those. The Marxist socialist ideals have never been implemented in the real world because they tend to get hijacked. And that's an unfortunate truth. So stop saying communism and socialism are bad. Stop saying that Republicans and conservatives are bad. They have their good points, they have their bad points. But the important part is to educate yourself on both and use rational self-interest. Yes, it's not my interest to have this street repaved, but it is in my interest so that way I get, new pavement and less wear and tear on my car. Rational self-interest, not self-interest, because that's what democracy is about. We hope you enjoyed this episode of the Silverlight Show. If you did, please hit like, share, subscribe. Don't forget to click the link down in the comments to take you to our bookstore. Every book sold really helps the show out, and we hope you have a fantastic day.